Argentina today really feels like a pressure cooker. There are these tensions simmering just below the surface, in the halls of government, out on the streets, and even in homes right across the country. So today, we're going to dig in and look at what's actually driving that pressure. From these huge political showdowns and economic standoffs, all the way down to the critical issues impacting everyday life.
All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to kick things off with the political and judicial battles, then see how that's all trickling down to jobs and the economy. After that, we'll take the pulse of the provinces, look at some really important social justice cases, see where Argentina stands on the world stage, and then we'll wrap it all up with a few key headlines for the day. Let's dive in.
So we're starting at the very top, where the power is most concentrated. Right now, the national government is fighting these really high-stakes battles on two major fronts. You've got one happening in the courtroom and another one playing out inside the walls of Congress itself.
And right away, you can see this direct collision between what the government wants to do and the power of the judiciary. The administration wanted to completely reorganize the National Industrial Technology Institute, which is a super important agency for the country's industry. But a federal judge just slammed the brakes on the whole thing. A union brought the case, and now the court has frozen all changes for 6 months. That means no layoffs, no restructuring, everything is on hold. The heat is also turning up on the Minister of Justice himself. A video has come out, and it appears to show him offering to help a former CIA agent, an agent who's facing sexual assault allegations, by the way, to, in his words, set up something nice to fix his public image. Well, the fallout from that was immediate, with socialist deputies now calling for his resignation.
Meanwhile, the entire political chessboard is just shifting under everyone's feet. You've got a U.S. judge demanding personal emails and chats in that massive, ongoing legal fight over the YPF oil company. At the exact same time, the ruling party, La Libertad Avanza, is actually gaining strength in Congress now that 6 deputies have switched sides. But even as they're getting stronger, internal party fights are breaking out into the open, and the opposition is proposing this really radical overhaul of the Supreme Court itself. It's a lot to track.
Now, all this political drama isn't just happening in a bubble in Buenos Aires. It's having very real-world consequences for people's jobs, for their paychecks. So let's take a look at the impact on labor and the economy. 1,200. That's the number. That's how many layoffs just hit Vaca Muerta, which, as you know, is one of the biggest shale oil and gas reserves on the planet and a strategic pillar for Argentina's whole economy. The move sparked a huge strike, which is now paused, but only because the government stepped in with a mandatory 15-day cooling-off period. The fundamental conflict here, though? It hasn't gone anywhere.
And this case right here really shows you the kind of impossible choices some workers are facing. So at a subsidiary of YPF, 43 employees were let go. Then the company comes back with an offer. Sure, you can have your jobs back, but you have to take a 42.5% pay cut. A massive cut. The union, of course, called it blackmail and immediately launched an indefinite strike.
And, the tension is just as high in the public sector. The government decreed raises for university staff, but when you add it all up, it's just a 7.3% increase by November. With inflation as high as it is, the professors' union flat out rejected it, saying it's not a raise at all, it's a significant pay cut in real terms. But these stories, they aren't just happening in the capital. Let's pull back the lens a bit and look at the provinces, because a whole range of different pressures are bubbling up all across the country.
This really gives you a snapshot of a country under strain from so many different angles. You've got major industrial crises, like in La Pampa, where a big textile factory just had to suspend 70% of its workers. Public services are stretched thin, with governors up north begging for funds for roads, while teachers in Juju are on strike over their salaries. And even the tourism industry, a major source of income, is getting hammered, with a 50% drop in visitors at the famous Iguazu Fall.
Okay, so beyond the politics and the economics, we have to turn now to the issues of justice and the fight for basic human rights. And this is where the stakes become deeply, deeply personal.
8. That's how many femicides have been recorded just this year in the province of Chaco alone. The latest victim was a 25-year-old woman named Erica Romero, and her ex-partner has reportedly confessed to the crime. It is just a heartbreaking statistic that really shines a light on the persistent and devastating crisis of gender-based violence in the country. And then there's this absolutely shocking story out of Salta. A police officer was filmed beating a homeless man unconscious while another officer just stood by and watched. But witnesses pulled out their phones and started recording. That video, of course, got posted online and went viral. The public outcry was so loud and so strong that it forced authorities to suspend both officers, and now they're under investigation for abuse of authority.
But, it's not all just conflict and tragedy. There are some signs of progress, some bright spots. In Buenos Aires, for example, a new law for comprehensive menopause healthcare just took a major step forward. In Tucumán, artists are using their work to raise awareness about human trafficking. And in Entre Rios, a public official who mocked a person with a stutter faced such swift and widespread condemnation, which really signals a growing demand for basic respect and accountability. All right, let's zoom out one more time, because Argentina isn't navigating all these challenges in a vacuum, right? It's part of a world that's facing its own really complex set of diplomatic pressures. So, on the world stage, we're seeing what could be a major shift in British foreign policy. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has just declared that his government is ready to recognize a Palestinian state. But, and this is a big but, he attached a major condition. Israel has to take substantial measures to resolve the crisis in Gaza first. While the response from Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, was immediate and it was forceful, he didn't frame the UK's position as a possible path to peace. He called it a reward for the monstrous terrorism of the Hamas movement.
And the tension is just high everywhere you look. The U.S. has reportedly given Russia a 10-day ultimatum for a ceasefire in Ukraine. A big trade standoff with China has been put on pause, but only for now. And right here in Latin America, diplomatic friction is building between Venezuela, Bolivia, Peru, and the U.S.
And finally, let's bring it all back home for some practical daily news from the province of Misiones. And we'll throw in a quick look at the day in sports.
So for everyone in Misiones, a quick update for your day. Expect clear skies with a high of 22 degrees. The Ahora program is making a stop in Andresito today, and remember that family allowance payments are ongoing. And for all you soccer fans out there, the Copa Argentina is on this afternoon, with Independiente Rivadavia taking on Central Córdoba. We'll leave you with this thought from the 19th century statesman Adolphe Daviers. He said, "Injustice is a mother who is never barren. She always produces children worthy of her." It's just a really powerful reminder of how the conflicts and the injustices that we've seen today can create these cycles that are incredibly difficult to break.
And that's our deep dive for today. Thanks so much for joining us. For 24-hour news coverage, you can always visit the website right there on your screen.